Good morning, dear children. In the previous class, we have seen on our topic on the deviates and methods of teaching. We have all seen it, and we'll next move on towards next unit, that is on assessment. Okay. So in our today's class, we will see what do you mean by assessment, why assessment is being done, and how we can do the assessment of the students. And we all know that after any examinations, okay, after any practicals, we may say, or whatever we are studying in a college or in a school. So what we'll be doing, we have learned the things. So how to know that our learning is being successful? So in order to identify that, we have to, what we have to do, one has to evaluate them. So whether the taught class is being understood or not, and to and what extent the people have understood. Okay, this is how we are going to do with the help of the assessment. In today's class, we'll see on the introduction of the assessment, purpose and characteristics of the assessment, functions of the assessment, formative and summative assessment, and internal and external assessment also, learning outcomes, and we have an exercise and we have references. What do you mean by assessment? Before going to the assessment, let us see what are the objectives of our study. That is to introduce the topic, define the topic, and to explain the purpose and characteristics of the assessment, and to describe the principles of the assessment, to illustrate the functions, and to describe the formative and summative assessment, to discuss the internal and external assessment. What is meant by external assessment and internal assessment? So let us focus on assessment. So what is assessment? Assessment can focus on an individual learner, the learning community, class, workshop, or other organized group of learners, the institutional or the educational system. What is the introduction? Now coming for the introduction of the assessment. So what do you mean by assessment? The word assess comes from a Latin verb, means a desire, which is meant by to sit with. Assessment is a systematic process of gathering, interpreting, and acting upon data related to the student's learning and experience for the purpose of developing and deep understanding of what students know, understand, and can do with their knowledge as a result of their educational experience. What is assessment? It is a Latin word which means that as a desire. It is meaning that you have to sit with. So what is assessment? It is a systematic process where we are gathering, interpreting, and acting upon the data which is related to the learning of the student and experience for the purpose of the developing a deep understanding of what the students know, what to understand and can do with their knowledge as a result of their educational experience. So what is assessment now? As described you, it is a Latin word which means a desire, meaning to sit with. So in assessment, one is supposed to sit with the learner. This implies it is we are doing something, means something we do with the student and for the students and not to the students. We are doing something with the students, with the help of the students, we are doing something and we are doing it for the students, but not to the students. Assessments can focus on the individual learner and the learning community, class, workshop, or the organized group of the learners, the institution or the educational system. So how we define it? Assessment is a process of documenting, usually in a measurable terms, knowledge, skill, attitudes, and beliefs. Attitude in education is a process of gathering, interpreting, recording, and using the information about the pupils' responses to educational task. What do you mean assessment? Assessment is the process of documenting which can be measured knowledge, then skill about the attitudes and the beliefs. So what is assessment in education? Assessment in education is we are gathering it, interpreting, recording and using the information about responses to an educational task. So how the assessment should be performed? Either it should be related to a regular performance, either we should gather the from the interdisciplinary sources or consider all students of this type. What are the purpose of the assessment evaluation? How we are analyzing, how we are evaluating or how we are analyzing by to provide short-term goals to students, by providing a short-term goals to the student, the purpose of the evaluation or assessment, and to clarify the intended learning outcome, to determine the level of knowledge and understanding of the students, to diagnose the strengths and weakness of the students, encourage learning by measuring their achievement, and to provide information to the students for overcoming the learning difficulties also, to estimate the effectiveness of instructional media and to help students acquire the attitude and skills or self-evaluation. Means what is the purpose of the assessments? We are providing a short-term goals to the students. We are clarifying the intended learning outcome. We are finally coming for the what the intended learning outcome is there. In order to assess that, we are doing the assessment, and in order to determine the level of knowledge and also understanding in the students. It helps to diagnose the strength and the weakness, how much the strength, how much interested is there, or what is the weakness in the students, whether is he not performing well. This can be identified, and also it will help to encourage the students learning by measuring their achievement. So once we come to know what is the weakness, what is the strength, what how much at what extent they have learned that particular subject, so that it in turn helps to encourage the students to achieve it, make them to achieve. To provide important information to students for overcoming learning difficulties. That is, we are providing the information to the students for overcoming the difficulties. When the achievement goes less, then we can understand that what is the problem, then we can encourage them and we can provide the information so that the students can overcome those difficulties also. Then it also helps to estimate the effectiveness of the instructional media, which is the method of the education which has been used for imparting the teaching. If the achievement is not that successful, then what we can do, we can change our instructional media also. It will help us to students acquire the attitude and skills for self-evaluation. It also helps to assess the non-scholastic domains of the students' personality. Who are the non-scholastic domains? It will help them with their personality, and it will help to assess the students' progress throughout the year. Throughout the year, we can assess the students' progress, and it also helps to us ascertain if the teaching strategies are not or effective or not, whether which teaching strategies which we are using that are effective or not, that can be done. It helps to improve the curriculum in light of recent advancement also. Then it helps us to satisfy the university requirement for our curriculum, to report the students program to the parents. We can report what the students can be progressing to the parents also. Evaluation is carried out for our general and educational research. It gathers information to assist in the decision making. It helps us to gather the information for the decision making, that what we can decide and what we can not decide, and if any problems are there, we can help them to overcome those. Then screening of the people, so that the screening. So in the screening, we can identify whether how many people will be there, how many people have understood, how much they have understanding, so that we can screen it. We will come to know how many students are taking the less marks, or the assessment is below the low level. So we can screen those students and we can help them to overcome also. It also helps to monitor the students' report also, and also helps to assign the grades and the ranks. So according to their scores, we can assign them the grades and the ranks also, and also it determines the ones who will instruct the instructions effectiveness, which type of media we are using for the instruction. We can even determine the effectiveness also. Next, the types of assessment and evaluation. There are certain parameters. Okay, so what are these parameters, and what is formative assessment and what is the summative assessment? So the parameters of the are regarding, firstly we will see over the meaning. So what is the what do you mean by formative assessment? Formative assessment is an ongoing assessment of the student's achievements. Means what the student is achieving. This on the regular basis we are doing this. This type of achievement is known as the formative assessment. And what is summative assessment? Summative assessment is that assessment that is being done, that is final at the end. Means for example, at the end of the semester or at the end of the year. So what we are doing, that we are calling it as summative assessment. For example, formative assessment, it may be your assignments, it may be your unit test, or even the classroom questions and all. So these all comes under the formative assessment. Summative assessment like your midterm examinations or your final year examinations. So these are coming under in the these are all coming in the summative assessment. Next, to it have further purpose. What are the purposes? To monitor the progress of the students and provide the feedback for the improvement. So the purpose of this formative assessment is it will help us to monitor the progress of the students and also provide them the feedback to the improvement. Because then and there only, if we are providing the reports for the students will understand how to improvise themselves and help them to come out. Then it finally assign the grades also. Summative assessment for the final grading, it is helpful. Then what is the frequency? It can be carried out frequently, that is on the daily or on the weekly basis also. As I told you, regularly how we are doing that classes, in the classes also we can use it, or even on the weekly basis also we can use it. And this summative assessment either can be monthly or biannually or annually or at the end of the semester. Okay. So what is the content focus? It is detailed focus on content. Okay, the content which we are taking on that content, it is focused and generally and broad content scope. What are the methods? It include classroom questioning, daily assignments, a regular formal or informal observation, class tests, or even the internal assessment. These are the methods of the formative assessment. And in summative assessment, it includes the project evaluation, term examination, and the external examination also. Okay. So these are the methods we can use. These are the various types of the assessment or the evaluation methods which we can use on the students. So what are the scope of the assessment or the evaluation? What scope, where all scope it is there. So the scope of the assessment evaluation is the selection of the students. Okay. Then feedback of the students. Okay. And feedback from the teacher also can be helpful. That is the scope of the assessment or the evaluation. It also helps us the incentive to learning, motivation of learning activities, certification of the competency, and discussion for success. Now, what are the criteria for selection of the assessment method or technique? So before selection any assessment technique, so what are the some criteria which we can adopt or which we can see? So the first objective is the congruent with educational objectives. The assessment which we are going to adopt, it should be based on the educational objectives. They should be objectivity, should be there. Practicality of the subject, practically in the questionnaires should be there. Then construct a wide curricular content. Okay, it should be constructed on a wide curricular content, means whatever we have covered on that content, the questionnaires to or the assessment type should be present, and it should be much more clear and comprehensive also. It should be relevant towards our topic. As far as possible, it will concise and also precise. Okay, adequate and appropriate things should be mentioned in that one. Understandability should be there. Then the power of discrimination also should be seen. There should be no any discrimination in the assessment. Validity of the assessment as an instrument. The instrument, the assessment type which we are using, it should be valid and it should be reliable also. So the classification of the assessment tools and techniques, how we are assessing it. So assessment of the knowledge is done through the essay type questions. In the essay type questions, either we can go for the extended response essay or restricted response essay. Extended is only for a the lengthy essays. Restricted is on the short points. Okay, on the short words only we can complete the essay. Then the assessment skills will be there. What are the assessment skills we can use with the observational checklist? So which we are dealt in the today's class also. And that in the observation checklist we can go for the rating scale and a total record setting. And the attitude is measured by the Likert scale and even for the semantic differential scales. So further, the knowledge assessment can be done with the help of the short answer, that is by using the fill in the blanks type or statement completion type or even labeling or diagram or even short answers in 5 to 10 words. And in case of assessmenting the skills, we can use go for the cumulative records, writing clinical assignments, critical incident record, practical examination, viva, oral examination, or so say. So objective type of questions can be used, multiple choice questions can be used, multi-response questions, true or false questions, and matching type. These are all the assessment types for assessing the knowledge. And for the skills, it might be object structured clinical examination or objective structured practical examination. That's all about the today's class, and the exercise for the today's class is you have to list the different type of the assessment and you have to classify them. And the learning outcome, the student have already identified the various types of assessment methods. The student will understand the application of assessment in teaching. The application of concepts of topic and its technological application, ability to interpret, analyze data into information and to design the conduct and experiments, understanding available tools and products, ability to use it effectively, adaptive thinking skills. So these were the references of the study. That is Kevin Rajesh, Suresh Sharma, and Communication Education Technology, textbook of Neelam. That's all about today's class. And thank you. We'll meet with the next class in the tomorrow's class. We will see about the types of the. Thank you.